$2 billion ESPN deal. Barstool Sports has sold again. $2 billion ESPN deal. Barstool Sports is sold again. Now, the person that sold Barstool, for those of you that are not familiar, is called David. I think his name is Portnoy. David Portnoy. I hope that I'm pronouncing that correctly. David Portnoy. David Portnoy basically had sold a percentage of Barstool Sports to Penn Gaming. Now, Penn Gaming is an online gaming, and they're a casino that basically is a company that generates the majority of their revenue from sports betting and casino games, right? And so what Penn was trying to do was monetize and then combine sports over with sports betting, right? But they ran into a lot of different issues. And so ESPN has now done a deal with Penn, right, for $2 billion, while at the same time selling Barstool Sports back over to its original owner. But I'm going to tell you some of the details because there's some things in this that we need to iron out. Make sure y'all hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. This is David Portnoy specifically talking about why and what's going on with the deal. Again, make sure you guys hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications.
Emergency press conference time. Maybe the biggest emergency press conference that we've ever had here at Barstool Sports. Where to start? Penn Entertainment and Barstool Sports have gone our separate ways. As of this moment, while you were watching this video, I have purchased back Barstool Sports from Penn. So that is right. For the first time in a decade, I own 100% of Barstool Sports. Not since the Chernin deal have I been in total control of everything. Why did it happen? How did it happen? Well, I think Penn, who I have nothing but great things to say, I've said that all the way along with the Penn relationship. I have nothing but the most respect from Jay, his whole team, everything. We did this deal about 3 years ago, and I think both parties are like, we're going to take this thing to the moon. And we underestimated just how tough it is for myself and Barstool to operate in a regulated world where gambling regulators, the New York Times, Business Insider, hit pieces, fucking with the stock price. Every time we did something, it was one step forward, two steps back. We got denied licenses because of me, you name it. So the regulated industry, probably not the best place for Barstool Sports.
So they did the deal. Now let me break this down, and I'm going to tie it back over to ESPN's $2 billion deal, okay? So they did the deal, and I'm going to go into the details. As a matter of fact, let me just finish letting him play this, and then I'm going to go into the deal specifically, all right?
And the type of content we make. Penn was able to broker an unbelievable deal with ESPN. We wish them nothing but the best in their endeavors. It's truly a win-win. I still own a ton of Penn stock. I'll probably hold it because I think it's...
So he still owns Penn stock, which means that he got equity in the company when he sold Barstool Sports. First as a portion, I think it was like 36%. And then he sold the rest over to Barstool Sports. And I'm going to go over to the details of that deal shortly. But he still owns a ton of Penn's stock, who originally bought Barstool Sports, okay? But Barstool Sports sold it back to him for pennies on the dollar, allegedly.
Going to go up. But more importantly, for us, for Barstool, for the first time in forever, we don't have to watch what we say, how we talk, what we do. It's back to the pirate ship. And by the way, I am never going to sell Barstool Sports, ever. I'll hold.
Now, he's saying that, look, we had to basically censor ourselves because we became owned by a larger company, right? We became owned by a larger company. We had to censor ourselves, but now we're going to really be able to turn it up. We can say what it is that we want to say. We can do what we want to do, and I'm never going to sell it back, or I'm never going to sell the company ever again. I'm going to keep it forever. Now, a lot of people on the surface will say, oh man, that is awesome, right? He bought the company back. It's back in the hands of the people. No, this was a finesse, and there's details of the deal that you guys are not familiar with, which is one of the reasons why we're here on the Millionaire Morning Show to break down how this is going to affect both Disney, which is the owner of ESPN, and also why he's saying that he will never, ever sell the company again. It's not, in my opinion, because he's just a person that is an advocate for sports and being able to say what you want to say and all that other type of stuff. No, 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 no. I do not believe it whatsoever at all. I'll break that down, but let me finish letting him tell you what it is that he
Hold it till I die, and when I die, I'll give it to Dan or Kevin, who's ever left standing. If their kids are still alive, they'll get whatever. We will pass it down. This is now going to be a place for content.
Nope, not main toe. It's not till a bigger bag come. I'll detail it. Watch this.
Content. Every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in. That's right. I'm not going anywhere. Barstool Sports, the Pirate Sip, the Cannons, they will plunder from now for the next 100 years.
So now, on the face of this thing, you could say, well, that's awesome. It's back in the hands of the people. You do what you want to do. You bought it back. You made a lot of money. You still own stock in Penn and all of this other type of stuff. And now you're saying you're going to give it to your kids, ownership. I know that this will largely be a thing about generational wealth, passing it down to your kids, all of that other type of stuff, right? Nope, that's not what it is. Not what it is, even a little bit on the surface of this deal. Let me break it down to you, and then I'm going to break it down from the ESPN perspective because a lot of people are missing this. They're not looking at the deal for exactly what it is. Let's break it down. This is according to several sources, but I found the best way or the best summary for it with Yahoo Sports. ESPN and Penn Entertainment, which is the company that originally bought Barstool, announced a blockbuster deal on Tuesday that will see ESPN operate branded sports books as the so-called worldwide leader of sports, making it its biggest push yet in the sports gambling market. Now, the sports gambling market, and one of the reasons why Barstool stuttered and suffered was because they had a bad or a very difficult time monetizing in all of the different states that you would have to get a license in order to do sports gambling, right? So, for example, over here in Detroit, there's largely a monopoly. You have to tie yourself in either with one of the Indian casinos that is approved or one of the Detroit casinos in order to be able to administer online gaming or sports gaming, right? So, Motor City Casino partnered with FanDuel. MGM created their own sports book. We have another one that is an Indian casino that wanted to go into it. You can also do poker and all of that stuff on there, but you have to be within the city limits or you have to be within Michigan limits in order to be able to gamble effectively. Well, Penn had a very difficult time getting approved and then being able to jump over all the regulations that was tied to sports gambling. All right? So let's continue. As a part of the deal, the companies will launch a branded sports book, ESPN Bet. This falls in line with 16 states. 16 states. They got approved to be in the 16 states, all right? Where Penn currently operates mobile sports books. Penn will pay ESPN $1.5 billion over the next 10 years, while granting ESPN warrants to purchase 31.8 million shares of Penn worth $500 million, which will vest over the same period. Now, how does that make sense, right? Because you can say, well, $1.5 billion over the next 10 years is not really a lot of money. You're talking about $150 million in order to tie themselves with ESPN, which is the leader based off of the numbers of visibility. And then they also have that Disney powerhouse behind them, right? But $150 million a year is not a whole lot of money, but it is a lot of money in the bucket when you take into consideration that Disney is really trying to figure out how they can generate more revenue while at the same time cutting costs because they have a lot of debt. They're trying to build up their business back again with ESPN. They're hiring new people. They just gave Pat McAfee the bag. They're allegedly negotiating and possibly even having conversations with Shannon Sharp, right? You got Stephen A. Smith's contract. It's a lot of things that's going on. They just hired Doc Rivers in order to replace Mark Jackson. And so ESPN basically did a deal with Penn Entertainment in order for them to be able to have sports betting, and they're hoping to use the ESPN name in order to generate revenue with sports betting, especially since they have licenses to, broadcast NBA games and all of that other type of stuff, and they're hoping that this is a good partnership. ESPN also, on the back end, gets to purchase the stock of Penn, so many shares, which could go up or down depending on what the valuation is, and that's why they have the option. Here's the key. All right, let's break it down. Penn then divested themselves from Barstool, which then allowed for David Portnoy to then purchase the company back 100% for pennies on the dollar. Pennies on the dollar. All right? As a part of the deal, the companies will launch sports brand ESPN Bet, $500 million over the same period. Penn Entertainment stock rose as much as 18% in pre-market trading Wednesday morning following news of the company's second quarter earnings release. Penn reported second quarter revenue of $1.67 billion. Revenue has nothing to do with earnings. Revenue is the amount of money that you generate that has nothing to do with what it is that you take out from costs. So revenue and then earnings, this is what I want y'all to understand. That means that's how much money was generated. That's not necessarily how much money was earned, okay? In line with Wall Street's expectations. All right, Disney is scheduled to report earnings today. Let's continue. As a part of the announcement, Penn also announced that it sold Barstool Sports back to the founder, David Portnoy. Penn initially purchased a 36% stake in Barstool for $163 million back in 2019. So a 36% stake was $163 million in 2019, right? That's how much Barstool was sold for as a 36% stake, almost 1/3 of the company. Then earlier this year, the company purchased the balance of Barstool for an additional $388 million. All right. So essentially, you're talking about a little over $500 million, right? You're talking about somewhere along the lines of $540 million, somewhere around there. My mental math is not all that accurate, but around $540 million is the amount that they paid in order to purchase Barstool Sports from David Portnoy, right? Over $500 million. Here's the key. When he says, hey, listen, I'm never selling it. Again, I'm going to own it for the rest of the game. I'm always going to pass it down to my kids. It's because that there's stipulations inside of that contract that prevent him from being able to sell it without giving a portion of the profits over to Penn Entertainment. Penn said in a press release after he posted that, it also has the right to receive. Let me highlight this for you guys. 50% of the gross proceeds received by David Portnoy in any subsequent sale or other monetization event of Barstool. So if he sells the company, one of the reasons why he was able to get it for pennies on the dollar for what it is that they bought it for initially, now that they're partnering with ESPN in a practically $2 billion deal, is because one of the stipulations is if he ever sells the company, then they can receive up to 50% of the proceeds of the company if he ever sells it and then makes money off of it again. So they said that, listen, either you're going to own it forever or we're going to get a percentage of what it is that you make since we sold it back to you for pennies on the dollar. And so this is the reason why you guys need to understand why these people come online and they say this stuff. It's not because that they're just trying to keep generational wealth or they're any smarter than you. It's fine details within the contract that says either you're going to have to own it forever or we're going to take a percentage of the profit when you decide and if you decide to be able to sell the company. And this is the thing that they're not going to break down. This is why we are the Millionaire Morning Show and we look at things differently than everybody else because we go and we search for the details. We don't lean into what it is that we think we know in order to make an informed decision, which is why I tell you guys inside of the Patreon, do not invest in something just based off of whether it pops or timing or any of this other type of stuff. Make sure that you become intricately informed about what it is that's going on with these different companies before you decide to invest, because you need to understand the leadership, you need to understand the play, you need to understand how they're all connected and how they're tied in. Then you can make a more informed decision as to whether or not this is a good deal or not. Now you get it. Now you know why we do the research. Now you know why we take our time and we don't rush to judgment. Now you know why we don't do the same thing that everybody was doing when they was looking at GameStop stock. Why Michael Jordan allegedly had to sell his team, because you have to surround yourself with the information in order to make a more informed decision. He has a leash on him based off of what Penn said in their release yesterday. If you are going to make money from any subsequent sale, then we have the right to receive 50% of the gross proceeds. All right. FanDuel, DraftKings as market leaders as previously advertised with ESPN to get their odds and products in front of sports fans. DraftKings shares fell 10% after hours trading. Press release, ESPN said that ESPN Bet will become the network's exclusive sports book, and Penn Entertainment will receive odds distribution, promotional services inclusive of digital product integrations, basically advertising, traditional media and content integrations, and ESPN talent access across among other services that collectively generate maximum fan awareness. So basically, they're saying you can leverage our ability to be able to get in front of the fans in order to build up your sports book. And then we're going to tie it and market it more effectively. And then you can pay us $150 million a year over the next 10 years in order to do so. And in order to do so, they also had to divest themselves from Barstool Sports. David Portnoy spent it like, oh, man. And I mean, he probably did a good deal. If you can buy it back significantly from what it is that you made and what they gave you, that's a phenomenal deal. But then they put the little leash on them and said, but you're not going to be able to sell it without us getting 50% of the proceeds going forward. All right. And then they, ESPN chairman said this is give fans what they've been requesting, expecting from ESPN, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Deal also brings to an end Penn's tumultuous venture with Barstool Sports. Casino operator initially took a stake in a sports media company with the thought Barstools would provide content and house promotion for its online sports book. Basically, they didn't meet the expectations, which is one of the reasons why they wanted to divest themselves from it. So on and so forth. All right, so everybody is getting money. Everybody is getting finessed at the same time. Some people got a leash on them. ESPN is trying to drive revenue in order to continue to build up and beef up what it is that they can offer over into their hosts, and hopefully they can make more money from advertising as a result of it. So those are the details. Now that you have more informed or more information, you can make a more informed decision as to whether or not you should invest in any of these companies, including Disney or Penn Gaming or Penn Entertainment. All right.